This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Flair caught and Barry Windham catches him again. Barry Windham missed and Ric Flair, both men over the top rope. Both men over the top rope. And they are lying in a crushed huddle out there.
Totally disoriented, going over that top rope backwards on a dead run. Probably both of them don't even really know where they are right now.
Place to Be Nation Wrestling. Welcome to a milestone episode of NWA Crock and Roll. We have reached the big 3-0, number 30, episode number 30, and it is a big episode tonight as we are talking about our second Super Show that came out in February of '86. On our last episode, we talked about Superstar and Superstation. Tonight, we are talking about Battle of the Belts 2, and for those of you that remember our Battle of the Belts 1 pod, that we did a long time ago. A lot of controversy coming out of that one. Between my first co-host tonight, Calum McDougall, how are you tonight?
I'm wonderful. It's excellent to be back in Florida, Championship Wrestling from Florida. Last episode was good. Last episode I really enjoyed. Excellent content to talk about. The show was wonderful. So yeah, and it was also good to be back on with the good old NWA boys as well, because we I missed it when I was before.
Good God! Apparently, someone's very excited we're doing Battle of the Belts too. I think he was barking at your comment about the good old boys.
Wow, he really doesn't like that. Yeah, I think that's
He didn't like that good old boys comment, Colin.
Did not.
Yeah, he did not like it. So. But yeah, so Colin, but you've been here since the beginning. How do you feel about being at episode number 30? Did you ever think we'd actually make it this far?
No, but because at the start we were doing it once. We were doing it once a month, and they were 4-hour episodes. And I didn't know what would quit first, us or the listenership. Well, to be fair, we were going to keep going because it's excellent stuff. And then we get cock blocked during the summer, which you did an amazing job making sure that we recovered from that. So once again, thank you very much, Shawn. And yeah, it's good to be back. So episode 30, here we go.
Yep, episode 30. By the way, yeah, you can thank me all you want, but I got to thank you as well and Dr. G and everybody else that joined us, because that was still a fun summer. If it ever happened, that like, I almost enjoyed the summer because I got to watch stuff that we never would have watched before, and then all pertains to stuff that we watch now in terms of people and things that happen. So I almost feel like these 30 episodes have been a history lesson for me in all things wrestling from all over the world, and just different parts, and it's just cool. It's just been one big history lesson. I love talking about it. It's just great.
And if it wasn't for us getting cock blocked, we would never have seen the greatness that was the Texas Death Coffin match. So in the cloud and all that.
Or Jimmy Valiant versus G.J. Strongbow. Some real classics in that. Yeah.
Susan's never forgiven you for
that. Thank God the cock is back, though. That's all I'll say. Thank God we're back. Speaking of cocks, our next co-host, Matt Shiflin, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. And as for someone, I just want to say congratulations for 30 episodes, because, I started off as a guest host, and I got promoted to, a 4 horseman all the way. And, I listened to all the episodes because I love NWA Crockett. It felt like a good starting point. Here's to hopefully 30 more episodes. I've enjoyed the run so far. I will say, you're talking about the summer cock block stuff. Hey, that's what got me on the show. Was I think Shawn got tired of asking people to join and was like, Scott always says yes. He said
no. I know, but you were always there, always available. So I'm glad you're with us now. So hopefully you're hitting for the long haul. So you know what's really funny about this? We're on episode number 30. However, in 30 episodes, we've only managed to cover 10 months of Crockett, which is of actual Crockett, which is mind-blowing to me. So, but anyway, it's good. Scott, thank you for joining us. Calum, glad you're here. And as you heard on our last episode, unfortunately, Dr. G is still reeling from that devastating attack from the main event crew. His leg is healing, and he should have his leg out of the boot by the time we get to our next episode, hopefully. So, Dr. G, we hope you are convalescing well, and you will be missed. So with that, guys, are you ready to jump into tonight's episode?
Oh, yes. Because it for the great matches it has, we also have horrible matches.
All right. So we are in Orlando at the Eddie Graham Sports Arena, and this is from February 14th, 1986. It is Battle of the Belts 2. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what the Eddie Graham Sports Arena was and what he did to deserve his own arena. So I'm still a little bizarre, trying to figure that out. On commentary, it's a return to form, just like Battle of the Belts 1. We have Mike Graham and Gordon Soley. They welcome us. It is the home of Disney, tourism, Epcot. They run down the card and hold up a PWI with the Road Warriors on it. And Mike looks like a miserable prick, as he always does in this opening column. What did you think of this kind of set up the stage of our announcers, the PWI with the Road Warriors, and miserable prick Mike Graham?
The only note in this is, oh no, Mike Graham and Gordon Soley, the men that charisma forgot.
Wow.
You know, Colin, we're going to go to hell because I feel like we really have this habit of kind of having certain feels about people that are historic to others. And I will say Gordon Soley has not always come across well to us on this show.
He's an acquired taste. If your acquired taste is bland.
Or an alcoholic.
Yeah. I mean, I like 1994 Gordon Soley as much as the next guy because it was just like, I'm going to get here, you're going to pay me because I'm Gordon Soley and people recognise me, whether I'm shit-faced or not, and I respect that. I absolutely respect that. But as someone who's, grown up in wrestling with the sort of the bombastic nature of Jim Ross in the early 2000s or Tony Schiavone and now David Crockett. I mean, he's the antithesis of David Crockett. And I love David Crockett. So, not for me. And then Mike Graham, honestly. And the man that charisma forgot, but my God, he's got a massive chip in his shoulder as well.
I can't wait. There's a match later on in this show that he drives me main roster angry. I'll talk about. Scott, what did you think about this open with Graham and Soley, the Road Warriors cover, and then again, Mike Graham's, as always, a miserable prick.
So I love the PWI because, before I learned that most of that stuff was fake, that was like my pro wrestling where I got all the news and everything. I would go to magazine store aisles in Food Lion or Walmart and just sit there and read the magazines while I waited for my parents to shop or my grandmother to shop. Hell, I used to consider the PWI Almanac that came out every year my Bible. I would read that so much that I would have it broken by the middle of the year. So it showed legitimacy to me, and it's a nice little thing. As for Mike Graham, he's a step up from the floozy we saw in the last episode, but they always had to get in that he was he's a wrestler. I guess he felt like he was demoted here. And Calum, a little shocked that you're not a big fan of Gordon Soley. I thought you would enjoy that, but I guess coming from, how we hear Crockett and Schiavone always not over the top, but just very excited. It's a different thing where he's more reserved, which I'm not going to lie, I kind of enjoyed.
All right. Well, and by the way, I'm kind of like Calum. I enjoy later Gordon Soley. I think I was watching, I put Halloween Havoc 89 over Halloween, and I kind of like him in that as the backstage interviewer. But on commentary proper, something doesn't resonate with me. I'm kind of with Calum on that, and I apologize. I guess I have to apologize to everybody's childhood because we kind of go back and look at it from today's lens. But anyway, we're going to jump right into it. So we have, I believe, if I count them proper, we have 7 matches tonight to talk about. So our first match tonight is for the prestigious NWA Bahamas title. It is Tyree Pride versus Ron Slinker. So Gordon calls Slinker a martial arts expert that teaches judo and karate classes. My first note is Slinker looks like a balding Uncle Louie, if that makes sense in terms of just very out of shape. I have a hard time taking him very seriously in this. The match is rough. There's long headlocks, punches, throat thrusts. Slinker actually hits a standing leg kick that caught me off guard, which I thought was pretty impressive for 1986. Pride wins with a body press. Tyree's foot was under the ropes when he got the 3 count. Then we do an interview after with Tyree. And by the way, Buddy Colt, another one we can add to the list of people that we don't need to ever hear again. He lies and says he calls it a fantastic victory for Tyree Pride. Tyree gives no fucks about Slinker's karate. It's a worthless interview as they replay the finish again because we needed to see it. He speaks in Haitian, and Buddy has no idea what he says. Says he's sure it is aimed at men like Kevin Sullivan. And Tyree Pride says, Colt, you must hang out in Haiti because you picked up exactly what I said. A terrible interview, a terrible match. I win a 1/4 star on this. Calum, what did you think?
My first note is that was a match that happened. Not great. I went 1/2 star because I felt that, they tried. Apparently that Ron Slinker is a world-class karate expert, but he doesn't even have a profile on Cage Match. So take it for that what you will. If you're not on Cage Match, you're a nobody in my eyes. Tyree Pride does have a profile on Cage Match. He once wrestled the artist who would be in future called Gangrel on a WCW house show in 1989 and wrestled as recently as 2012.
Wow.
In the Bahamas. It was an NWA show that happened in the Bahamas. So obviously
next Trevor Murdoch opponent coming up.
I'm telling you. Give us some
main event anywhere in the country.
Well, if they're going to have, NWA 74 in the Bahamas, or maybe he's going to be in the next Jericho Cruise. I don't know. It goes down that way. I'm just saying, watch this space. But it's one of these ones that we've had a few of them that it's difficult to rate because it wasn't offensively bad. It wasn't blow your mind good. It was there. So I went 1/2 star because nobody got injured really.
Okay. Scott, what did you think of this great Bahamas title match?
This match sucked. It was terrible. That guy, Slinker, who teaches karate, probably isn't allowed within 50 feet of a school.
Wow. Jesus Christ. God, wow.
I was like, oh my God, I can't believe Shawn made me watch this. I legit went just a 1/4 star, and it was just because Slinker wrestled in the swishy pants. And that's all you heard. And it was just terrible. They're
correct. You said he looks like he's outside of school in what kind of pants?
The swishy pants, swish, 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 swish.
So you gave him a 1/4 star for the swishy pants, and he looks like a child predator. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
1/4 star. Okay.
Yeah, it was real bad. This might have been the worst match I've had to watch for this, and this ranks up there with that crap from Japan I had to watch.
All right, okay, motherfucker. Don't be cutting on to Japan stuff, okay? And by the way, that might be the most out there review of a match that I've ever heard in the history of this podcast. Swishy pants and child predator. We do have a certain amount of class we try to keep on this podcast, Shiflet.
I'm sorry. I'll rein it in.
All right. It's okay. I think you made Calum second guess what's happening. I heard him got quiet. Calum, you all right?
I mean, one thing. See what you will about this podcast. We try to keep an open mind on everything. However, the one thing I was not expecting to hear.
Yeah, me neither. And you know me, I say everything I want on other podcasts. That one even threw me off a little bit. That was.
I mean, as wild and as disrespectful as we have been to many people on a Twitch feed, we have never called anyone a predator before.
In swishy pants.
In swishy pants.
Predator in swishy pants. Way to go, Shiv. It's a first. Jesus Christ. All right, I'm going to move on. God, do you have any
This is
more
what-
of those
this
hot
is-
takes tonight? Because I just prepare me. Is there any more hot takes like that tonight? Because I really need to know before I go.
I mean, there's one about Kendall Windham coming up.
Okay, good. We'll keep going then. All right, our next match.
This is what happens when
second
Dr.
match-
G goes away.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. It's a very good thing Dr. G is not on here because you would have none of your bullshit.
And I feel bad. And I feel bad for Dr. G because he grew up watching Florida Championship Wrestling, and I was like trying to be nice because like Mike Graham's boring. The backstage interviewer has like the personality of plywood, so I was just like trying to be nice with it. And I'm sorry, like I was just thinking back to that match, and it was just real bad.
Dr. G, I love him to death, but he is a big Trevor Murdoch fan, so I'm sure he would not be happy with your Tyree Pride takes or your Ron Slinker takes. Anyway, let's go to our second match. Starting off hot tonight. Wow. All right, so Kendall Windham, your Florida heavyweight champion, taking on Prince Iakea. This isn't my Prince Iakea, guys. This shocked me. Were you shocked to see it was Prince Iakea, Calum?
Yes, because my first note before I went and did some research was that 1999 WCW called and it wants its match back.
You know what I love? I love that you're like the research guy now, and it's like I don't even have to tell you you do it. You do it. So that's kind of your new gimmick now. So hopefully you're embracing that. I like it.
Yeah, I find that it's mainly if the match is boring. I'll go and do a bit of research into it, like meat and potatoes on the recent
oh God,
chicken salad.
That one broke me. That broke me too.
That was excellent.
Yes.
So yes, the background information was that it's not the Prince Iakea that I thought it was. However, fun fact: this Prince Iakea later became known as the Cheetah Kid in WCW. And
really?
Yes.
Wow.
So this was the Cheetah Kid in WCW. Do you know who
Where
his last
did you find this info? You just looked it up on it, like you just ran a search and you found like it just popped up.
CageMatch.com
Wow.
or CageMatch.net?
Wow.
Do you know who his last match in WCW was against?
No.
8th of July 1997, the Cheetah Kid's last WCW match was a defeat on Saturday night to Prince Iakea.
Wow. So he lost to Prince. So Prince Iakea lost to Prince Iakea.
Yeah.
You will not hear that fact on any other podcast in the entire world. I can guarantee that. I guarantee you nobody else in the world would ever have pulled that out their ass, Colin. Congratulations.
Very welcome. Only the best for only the best useless information on NWA Crock and Roll podcast.
And that's not useless. That's money. That's absolute money. So anyway, my first note, Kendall. It's funny we brought up Sam Houston because I feel like Kendall and Sam Houston would have made a really good. You could have called them brothers from another mother because these two look exactly the same. Same lanky build, same need a steak look. They're just really, I don't know. They definitely look very skinny and need some. They need some food. Ikea beats Kendall's ass to start. Kendall, by the way, is only 19 here. Ikea is dressed like Great Value Taz, which I thought was very funny. There's long headlock spots in this one. Kendall hits some nice moves. A belly to back, a lariat, a drop kick, some long leg work. Then Ikea bites to get out of more headlocks. Kendall hits the Bulldog for a 3, which Gordon calls the Bulldog an Oklahoma Stampede, which was an absolute insult to Dr. Death Steve Williams. This match had so many headlocks, and I was bored. I only went 1 1/4 on it, but then we get the interview afterward, and Kendall's with Cole. He could barely put 2 words together. And then they show a rear angle of the finish because we needed to see the rear angle of it. Yeah, this was really awful overall, the interview plus the match. I will go to you first, Scott. What did you think of this?
Okay, first off, Kendall Windham looks emaciated. Like that boy needs to eat. I didn't get Prince Iakea's name at first, so I was like, oh shit, this isn't, like you said, this isn't my Prince Iakea. I will say it was kind of a fun match with Kendall winning with the Bulldog. I went 1.5 stars, but afterwards, I should probably look this up, but he looked like 18 or 19 right here. And like,
Kendall Windham was 19. He's 19, Kendall Windham.
Yeah, and he obviously still needed to fill out. And like, because spoiler alert, guys, in WCW, late 1999 WCW, I got him confused with Bobby Duncombe Jr. a lot, so that's on me. But Kendall said he's going for the heavyweight title, and I was like, don't you already have the heavyweight title? But I guess he was talking about the NWA title, because I thought NWA had a bunch of belts that meant nothing. Championship Wrestling from Florida seems to be on the same wavelength.
All right. Calum, what did you think of this one?
I am so glad you brought up the Sam Houston comparison, because I have my second note after my Prince Iukea fun fact, my Prince Iukea Inception fun fact, I'm going to call it. Kendall Windham is just a taller Sam Houston. Right down to the gear, right down to the fact that he needs a good steak to fill out a bit. Right down to the fact that I don't particularly care for his matches either. Although Sam Houston is grown on me, I must say. But this is like early Sam Houston that we saw, like pre-arm break Sam Houston. It wasn't great. Not as bad as the first match, where they only get half a star purely for the fact that both of them walked out of the match. I went 1.5. Thinking back, it might be slightly generous. It wasn't awful. I think it could have been shorter, certainly. But yeah, it was a match that happened, and it was moderately okay.
Okay. All right. So you went 1.5. I went 1.25. Scott, what did you go again?
I went 1.5 as well.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So you guys liked it a little bit more than I did. So, all right. Well, cool. All right. Well, I'm surprised neither one of you said anything about the awful interview after the match, because that was one bad interview. We've had two really bad back-to-back interviews, and Buddy Colts should never interview anybody ever again.
They shouldn't be interviewing these people as they're gassed after the matches. Like, I don't know what the hell they're thinking. Like, they're both sucking air as they're like, I'm going to come for the heavyweight title. And, he's trying to breathe all heavy and everything. And, he was just drenched with sweat, and so was Pride earlier. It's like, maybe don't do these interviews.
They should have interviewed Ron Slinker in his squishy pants.
Yeah, they should have.
I was too busy getting brought back into house arrest after what Scott.
He was too busy running from school security to get interviewed. Scott. All right, right. We're gonna go to our next. Yeah. All right, our next match for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. We are familiar with Denny Brown on this podcast. And you will see Denny Brown in the future on some episodes coming up, because we get more visibility to him. But he is our junior heavyweight champion. It has been since the great Gary Royal match that we watched. Colin, I don't know if you remember that great match with Mozart, Hair, Gary Royal. You remember that match?
Yeah, that was a 20-minute draw that I felt could have gone 2 minutes and we could have the same match. It was a gif.
I think that's the last time we saw Denny Brown. It was a while ago, but he's taking on the White Ninja, who, for the junior heavyweight title, and everybody, the White Ninja is the Great Muta. And I had no idea or no recollection of the Great Muta being anywhere near the NWA 1986, so this actually took me aback. So I'll get your thoughts about that in a minute. So it is for the junior heavyweight title. I do struggle taking Denny seriously, and his Burger King title, which we have made a lot of fun of in the past. It's basically a leather strap with a crown shaped like the Burger King crown on the front of it. And they do eventually get a new title, but this one just takes me out. I'm also trying to figure out how Denny Brown is a cruiserweight or a junior heavyweight, because he's very overweight and he's goofy. And Muta's out here in very generic black trunks. So there's some good mat wrestling exchange to start. Denny headlocks, gets chance of boring. This is where Graham makes me mad. He's just rattling about wrestling moves. That is very annoying. Like he's just like, he knows everything. He's just constantly rattling about moves. Well, if he does this and he does that and he's going for this move, blah, blah, blah. And it's just driving me nuts. I enjoyed the mat wrestling between the two, but the headlocks and the chin locks were a bit much. I did enjoy a Brown escape out of a ninja camel clutch, which I thought was really neat. I haven't really seen anyone really kind of do what he did, which was really out of nowhere. Muta does a springboard elbow backbreaker moonsault, which only gets 2, which was good shit in 1986. By the way, guys, according to Gordon, medical experts report a body slam records a speed of 25 miles per hour. I did not know if you knew that, so thank you, Gordon, for that bit of knowledge in between vodkas. A Brown crossbody causes Ninja to stumble accidentally outside, tossing Brown over the top. Tossing Brown over the top. It is a DQ. The crowd shits on it. So do I. I'll be honest with you. I thought it was a pretty okay match, but I could also see why folks were not a fan, and I think it was a really bad ending. I actually went 2 stars on this. Scott, what did you think?
So I had a feeling it was Muta from the very beginning because on the graphics from the match, like before everything started, it said White Ninja Muta. And I was like, that's interesting. And when they showed him, I was like, that's Great Muta. But when I saw that beautiful drop kick that he laid on him, I was like, that's definitely Muta. That thing was amazing. And I will say solely, like, making up the body slam going 25 miles an hour, that may be bullshit, but it made it make it sound legit. So, like, I did enjoy that. The handspring elbow thing is just amazing. I love seeing that, especially seeing that in 1986. Like, what the hell? And also with the moonsault, like, I love this match. But saying that, the DQ was rough. Also, did you notice who the ref was? Bill Alfonso.
Yes, I did. Yep.
Yes. But I went 2 1/4 after saying how much I loved it because there was a bunch of stuff where it was just like Danny Brown doesn't look like – just looks boring.
Danny Brown is what Dr. G would call a good hand.
Yes,
So,
that's exactly what
hand.
it is.
Yeah.
But seeing young Muta, that was a joy.
Yeah, it was a nice, pleasant surprise because I had no memory of this at all. Colin, what did you think of this match?
I really liked this one. I don't know if it was I'm being swayed because it was the sort of really, really young Great Muta. But I thought it was really, really good. Muta's obviously meant to be the heel, but the crowd was loving when he brought out the handspring elbow and then the moonsault. The crowd were all over him. They absolutely loved it. I thought Brown held his end of the bargain, more than capably. So it's a big turnaround from the Boarfest that Gary Royal put him through on Saturday night. So clearly not Denny Brown's fault that one was a stinker. I really liked it. I actually went 2.75 on it.
Wow, you really liked this one.
I did. I thought it was really good. The only thing, it was a really good match ruined by a bullshit finish.
Yeah, it was a bullshit finish. We have several bullshit finishes tonight. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, if they are gonna have these bullshit finishes, then why even book the match? Because like you said, Shawn, we're gonna have a bunch of them coming up, and it just pisses me off. Sorry,
gotta get him into the arena, pal.
Yeah, that's very true. At this time, they were touring and setting up rematches, so you're 100% right.
Yep. All right, so yeah, wow. So yeah, not a bad match. I think in a vacuum, this is a really good match to go back and watch it, just to see young Great Muta. And I'm actually, so I'm a little bit ahead in our watches of where we're going in a few months. I'm starting to become a bit of a Denny Brown fan, which I think we'll see evolve as this goes on, because I think Denny Brown's an underrated guy who, it's not like Sam Houston. You put him in a main event with one of the main eventers, and they give him a belt that gives him some cred, even though technically the junior heavyweight title might be like somewhat of a jobber title. But at the end of the day, he has really good matches with some main event guys in the future that we're going to talk about. So he's growing on me, kind of like a fungus, but we'll see how that goes. So we go back to the announcers. They discuss a replay of Jesse Barr beating Lex Luger for the Southern title. And they put both over, and they call this match Greco-Roman versus Strength. So Jesse Barr. So the thing that stuns me in this, Jimmy Jack Funk has a victory over Lex Luger. I want you to guys think about that for a minute. Jesse Barr goes on to be Jimmy Jack Funk. Did you know that, Scott?
I did not. So that I'm learning something new today. Jimmy Jack Funk.
Did you know? Lex Luger. Yes.
Jimmy
Jack Funk beat Lex Luger in '86. Go ahead, Colin.
Oh no, I was going to say I knew Jesse Barr was Jimmy Jack.
Yep. So Lex Luger. So another little mental note here, because Crock and Roll does their research. Jimmy Jack beat Lex Luger. Just sit on that for a little while.
Jimmy Jack Funk has a victory over Lex Luger, and Denny Brown has a victory over the Great Muta.
What the fuck are we doing? Like, this is like crazy, right? We're like, this is great. So all right, we'll go to the match. This is for the Southern Heavyweight title. It's Luger versus Jesse Barr. Lex is out in a white T-shirt and headband, and Matsuda comes out, and they come out to Motley Crue, Use It or Lose It, which, full disclosure, that will be one of the songs you will hear in the intros or outros on this show, because I love me some Motley Crue. Barr and his hair. Barr has some of the most incredible hair. It's like levels of hair that are just impressive. And he comes out in a totally like red robe and Star Spangled Banner blue sleeves. So I thought it was a really cool robe. The crowd is absolutely hot. So I had no idea in 1986 how hot Jesse Barr was. There's some shocking mat wrestling with Barr and Luger to start. Some headlocks and toe holds that both had reverses to. I will tell you what took me aback was watching Luger reverse toe holds in 86 was legit shocking to me because Luger was mat wrestling here, and I just couldn't believe what I was watching. There was a test of strength that Barr accepts, but he does a backward rolling reversal that he did that I thought was really good that caused him to get the upper hand on the grip, which I thought was a really good visual of. Obviously, he couldn't beat Luger in a test of strength, but he rolled out of it to get the advantage, and I thought that was really good. Luger dominates a while with power moves, picks Barr up at a slam, and runs corner to corner with him. There is some bear hugs, and there's a press slam by Luger. Luger pile driver is blocked, and there's a running clothesline, a backdrop, and shoulder breaker by Barr. Barr misses a roll-up and is nailed with a clothesline for the Luger win. Barr had his leg on the rope, but Luger pulled it off. Listen, there were some slow spots in this, but the crowd was super hot. I thought Barr did all he could to make Luger look really good, and I thought Luger looked good doing it. It was a little too long, but guys, I don't know, man. I felt bad. I went 2.5 stars on this match. I legit really enjoyed watching this match. Scott, I'll go to you first.
Well, Shawn, you are wrong about certain things, but you are not wrong about this match.
I was worried about, I was actually questioning myself on this one because I was fucking enjoying the hell out of this match.
I will say I did enjoy Luger with the 5 o'clock shadow. I thought that added some I don't know, it just made him look different, and I really enjoyed it because we usually see him with the baby face. So seeing him with a 5 o'clock shadow made him look, I guess, more menacing. But he had a spot where he did it twice, where he had Barr in an arm bar and picked him up and slammed him in the arm bar, which I thought was just awesome. And you brought up the test of strength spot. That was great as well. It did go a little too long, but I really enjoyed it as well. And him pushing the foot off the rope was great. I love that move. I went 2.5 as well.
All right. So 2.5. Colin, what did you think?
I went 2 on it. I mean, excuse me, Lex Luger at this point in time, okay, you've got to really lower your expectations on what. He's less than a year into. I mean, I think he's only about maybe less than 6 months into his career. I've not got the dates down or anything, but again, did some background research. This is only Lex. You think about how many matches guys will have before they hit the big time or before they do anything.
He's what, six months in the business at this point?
Yeah, I mean, if that, I don't have a note of the dates, but I did count that this is only his 32nd match. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot. Yeah. So you've got to lower the guy's expectations. You lower your expectations for a Lex match at this point. I mean, he was never suited for a match this length ever, really, in his career. He certainly was it in 1986. So it was never going to be a 5-star classic. We won't be seeing it on an episode of Pedestal anytime soon. Just put it that way. But if you lower your expectations and take into account the fact that Lex is so new to this that this was a good enough match based on the relative experience that the guy's got. And God bless Jesse Barr for he's obviously led him through this match, and that's a testament to his skill as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it was outright bad. I've seen guys with more experience at this point in time have much worse matches. I'm looking at you, Wahoo McDaniel and Flair from Battle of the Belts 1.
Had to throw that in there.
I did have to throw it in there, yeah. Well, once per episode, Sean. You know, I'm contractually obliged. I'm contractually obliged.
It is written in your contract, yes.
It is. Yeah, I mean, so I'll fall short of saying it was a miracle that they got it, because we know that Lex eventually does put it all together. But the fact that he's had less than 50 matches and hasn't even been in 6 months or less, I think that was as good as you could really expect from that. Also, just a small point aside, now that the serious stuff's over, Fonzie sees a foot on the rope, and therefore he should be a 5-time referee of the year. Just want to point that out.
Yeah. Not enough talk about Fonzie. I think Fonzie, anyway, I don't want to get into the ref, but yeah, I agree. Yeah, so pretty decent match. I'd almost call this one a hidden gem. It took me aback quite a bit, and I really enjoyed it. So after the match, we have a Luger interview, another one with Buddy Colt. Luger sounds so incredibly different. It's like a child whose voice hasn't come into its own yet. He's still got his baby voice. He calls the Southern title a stepping stone. He wants the world title, says his physical credentials and heroes head for business. No one can stop them. So kind of a sneak peek under the tent, because at the Battle of the Belts 3, I do believe the main event is Luger versus Flair. So we will be talking about, I think that is in September of 86. So I look forward to talking about that. So we go to our 5th match. It is, here we go. Look forward to what Calum said. This is Calum's number 1 favorite wrestler in the entire world, Wahoo McDaniel, versus Bruiser Brody with Gary Hart on a $20,000 bounty match. This is pretty much shots, punches, outside brawling, chair shots. Brody particularly whisked twice, once on a drop kick and then another time on a chair shot. Hart pushes Brody to the back, and it's a double count out. Listen, there was one part where Wahoo hits Brody with a chair, and Brody walks across empty chairs on the floor, which I thought was pretty funny. I did not think this was great. I particularly thought Brody looked pretty bad, but two big guys stiffing each other, and the crowd was super hot. Brody comes back out, and they beat each other some more. I actually, and I know how much you would hate this, I would love to see a Garvin Flair Wahoo chop off, and the loser has their chest caved in, because I think the three of them would probably kill each other. So I went to gentlemen's 1 1/4 on this. I did not think it was great. It was short. It was like 5 minutes long. I will go to you first, Calum, since you are Wahoo's number 1 fan. What did you think of this?
This was an easy payday for Bruiser Brody, was it not? Rock up, 5 minutes, pack your bag, off you go again. This is precisely how Wahoo McDaniel should be used. Short matches with very little wrestling involved. And I think we saw a match with him. Was it? We saw a match he had with Harley. Now, I enjoyed that one because it was more of a fight. Very little wrestling involved. It was just two guys trying to knock 7 shades of shit out of each other. And Harley Race obviously managed to pull out a good match. So I was looking forward to this one, strangely, because I wanted to see Brody kick his ass. Didn't quite work out that way. It was...
Brody, by the way, on this show, we watched a couple of Brody matches on this show, and we haven't really been super impressed with his matches so far. At least you and I haven't.
No, they flattered. They flattered to deceive. I was expecting a lot because I thought that Brody would be able to drag him to a semi-decent brawl, and that this didn't even get quarter decent. I went 1 star on it. But this type of match was done better elsewhere. I'll just leave it at that just now.
Yep. And another bullshit finish as well, another DQ or whatever. So, Schiff, what did you think of this match? And I know you're going to say you liked it because I know you pretty well at this point. I think you liked it.
You're 100% right. I enjoyed the shit out of this match. Calum, I'm sorry. Just two big guys just beating the shit out of each other. It was great. Like, we had some blood there. Like Wahoo's just slapping Brody and, going through the, running through the chairs was just awesome. I'm going to get some hell for this. I went 2 1/4.
Jesus. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh,
What? Colin,
God.
please, direct your piss and vinegar at Schiff when it comes to Wahoo matches on this shit take. Please go. Do it. Waiting.
And
do you know what? This is come at me. Life comes at you fast. Right, life comes at you fast. I was looking for a picture that I could have put in our private chat. I'm going to tell the people this. I'm going to look for a picture that I was going to Photoshop and put it in a private chat of Eric Watts getting beaten down in a car park. I was going to be Arn Anderson. Chef for that was going to be Eric Watts. Okay, but I'm just going to... That is Shawn. You're now no longer shit take Shawn Kidd. We have now got shit take Shiflett on this podcast. Awful.
Well,
Awful.
He has been my protege, Calum, so it might be my fault. He's a little bit of my
protege. You're rubbing.
Yes.
I will say, but I have shit on Wahoo McDaniel matches before. That one we had to watch where he was going against Ric Flair, I hated. So I just love this with Brody.
There we go.
So but I don't know. Them just beating the hell out of each other.
There's no redemption. Own your role, Scott. There's no redemption.
Shawn knows from me watching wrestling. We watch wrestling together. Like, I love when the people beat the hell out of each other. So
they would actually have to do that for it to be a good match. These guys would not beat the hell out of each other. Anyway, all right. So we'll move on to the next number 6, which is Kevin Sullivan, Bob Roop, and a Purple Haze with Luna Vachon versus the Warriors and Blackjack Mulligan. And I think the last time we saw Bob Roop was literally like episode 3 of this pod. I think he had one match, and we never watched him again. He went off and did whatever. I guess he went to Florida. Sullivan is Satan carrying. He's like in his Satan gimmick. He's carrying a boa. And he's got. And then you go to the back with Cole, with Ellering discussing the Warriors stealing Sullivan's gold spike. He babbles some George Burns line about banquets. The Warriors and Blackjack Mulligan show up. Graphic call, by the way, said that the Road Warriors were the NWA Tag Team Champions, which they weren't. Mulligan says the devil will get his due tonight. It was way too long interview about a spike. So we'll get into the match. Took kind of long for the Road Warriors and Blackjack to come out. They come out to Iron Man, all-out brawl between all 6. Hayes hits Mulligan with a chair early. It's just a mass brawl with chaos, with chair shots, power slams. Once back in the ring, the heels beat on Mulligan, but breaks down into chaos again with all 6. Sullivan backhands the ref on purpose. The heels run to the back. The face chases him and animal clocks Sullivan with a chair. I'm not sure if this is a DQ or a count out, but it was crazy, wild shit. And it reminded me a lot of the last Battle of the Belts where we saw the Road Warriors taking on Race and Hansen. And just like that one, I love this one as well. I think the Road Warriors are 2 for 2 on awesome Battle of the Belts brawl. I went 3 stars on this match. But again, another schmaz finish. Colin, what did you think of this match?
I've got that very note. This was a lot like the Road Warriors match from the last Battle of the Belts. It was wild. It went all over the arena. It actually had big men beating the shit out of each other. It was. I'm glad you made a note about the thing that said that Road Warriors were the World Tag Team Champions, because I've got Road Warriors are tag champions ? And I thought there was something happened in between. This was excellent. The crowd was eating it up from start to finish. It was just a constant roar that you had. There wasn't any pops or anything. It was just a constant noise of just like people enjoying themselves. I loved it. I went 3 1/4. I absolutely loved that.
Excellent. Schiff, again, you like big guys beating the beef out of each other, so I assume you like this one too.
Yes, and unlike on the last episode where it was just plotting with Nikita and Ivan versus the Road Warriors, this was just nonstop action. And I will say that Kevin Sullivan would have terrified me as a kid. Like, he looked straight up horrific. Like coming out, like those people are carrying the big ass snake. Luna Vachon doing Luna Vachon things. Purple Haze just looks menacing as hell. And these guys, like, they knew they weren't working for the hour. They weren't getting paid by the hour. They were getting paid by the match. Everyone's just bleeding. All the bad guys are bleeding at one point. They're picking up like the steps and just throwing them in the ring, beating each other with the chairs. I went 3 1/4. I loved it. The ending was shit, but I loved it.
Yeah, all three of us like this. So this is a fun brawl, and obviously we'll see a lot of Kevin Sullivan. We have not seen Purple Haze before. We've seen Bob Roode before, but this was a lot of fun. Good match. All right, then here we go. Here's a nice little icing on the cake moment for Calum. Billy Graham is here. It does an interview and says he and Wahoo will face the Sullivan family tomorrow night. I said the only good thing about this interview is we will not have to be in Florida to see it because it will not be on TV. Calum, any thoughts on a fantastic Billy Graham and Wahoo tag team?
I thought the whole point of these promos is you want to sell tickets, not actively want people to not go to a show.
I think that's enough said. Scott, any thought on a potential Billy Graham and Wahoo tag team match?
No. Even though they're going against Kevin Sullivan, and I didn't get the name, but yeah, no thank you.
All right. Was it Starrcade? So Starrcade 84 was Graham versus Wahoo for the U.S. title, right, Calum?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
One of the worst matches I think I've ever seen in the history of my life, and I can only imagine what a tag team with them would be based on that match we watched with them. I like it, but it makes me want to vomit.
That match was, I think, 4.5 minutes long, and it was 4 minutes and 29 seconds too long.
Indeed it was. It definitely was. All right, so we're going to go to our final match of the night, match number 7, Ric Flair versus Barry Windham for the World Heavyweight title. Windham, obviously a pretty hot babyface. He obviously is no longer in the WWF, a former tag team champion.'s obviously been in Florida. He's been in the NWA before. But this is actually my first. This is our first time talking about Barry Windham on this show. And it will not be the last time, but it is our first exposure, so it'll be great to hear what you guys think. So Windham is out in his red bomber jacket. Flair is out in the exact same robe he was for the Superstars show. So clearly, after Superstars on the Superstation, he went on the road, and this is the second appearance of his green pea robe that we have seen in the last 2 episodes. Flair, they have an interview in the back where he puts himself and Barry over, and it makes Flair better because he says Barry makes him even better, which also puts over Barry at the same time. First time we see the big gold belt guys, which we will talk about more in a future episode, but this is the first really visual we've had on it, so we have a brand new gold belt. Colt puts over Windham, speed, and youth. Flair says he will beat Barry tonight as he's the greatest thing going today. Thankfully, God, we will have no more Colt interviews tonight. He has been a LVP of this tonight. Flair comes out. By the way, the music. Flair comes out to Easy Lover, which kind of
amazing.
Me back. It was amazing. That'll probably be the other song on this show, this podcast. But yeah, Easy Lover. Windham, the other note I made, Windham should not be allowed to have a mustache. That took me back a little bit, but I guess he's trying to mimic the look of his father, Blackjack Mulligan. They have a handshake to start. There's a hot start with a Barry shoulder block. Flair leapfrog, and then Barry does a hip toss and body slam. Announcers say Barry has been across the pond for 5 weeks and may have jet lag. There's some mat work and long arm work by Barry, but Barry visualized his height on the holds. Like, there's some long arm holds and stuff, but I think Barry, what he does a really good job of making his height advantage look like he's actually using it to his advantage, which is a small detail I really like. Mike Graham babbles about how he's been in the ring with Flair several times. No one cares. Flair hits the rope awkwardly and looked really savage. Really. It looked like the rope snapped Flair's head, and he needed a moment to kind of get himself together. Absolutely savage looking. Windham dominates some more with rollouts, punching, Boston Crab, an awesome suplex, and abdominal stretch. Outside, Flair is thrown Windham's back to the ring steps and takes control and makes Barry bleed. Some chops, a pile driver. Barry versus another pile driver hits the lariat for 2. Barry throws Flair into the post, and now both are bleeding. Flair gets a sleeper that Windham reverses by charging Flair into the turnbuckle. Flair figure 4 using the ropes as reverse, and Flair accidentally throws it into the ref. Flair tosses outside, and Barry's back and savagely hits the apron. Barry climbs to the top rope, drop kick, but the ref is down. Windham hits a lariat out of the corner for 2. That is suplex for 2. Windham misses a lariat, and Flair does a body press, both over the top rope. Fight outside. God damn it. I was so pissed off at the double count out. But this match, guys, this was like a 40-minute match. Just a classic textbook. Everything looked real. Everything flowed. Great match. Ending was bullshit. And again, too many non-finishes tonight. But for me, this match would have been an easy 5 stars. But because of the finish, I have to go 4.5. I absolutely love this match. And Calum, I'll go to you first. Oh boy.
I've watched this match twice.
Oh,
I watched
God.
this match twice.
Dude, are you really going to go this? Are you really going to do this on this match?
Do what?
Go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
It was good. Right, it was a very good match. There was some bit, so I watched it as part of the research, and then I didn't. There was something not clicking for me, so I watched it again. I watched it again just because I know that this match is highly regarded. I know it's the breakout performance for Barry Windham. So I didn't want to completely come out and when I say and when I say it wasn't clicking for me, it wasn't Wahoo Flair levels of not clicking for me. When I say it wasn't clicking for me, it was I had it at 3.5. Okay, so I didn't think it was a bad match at all, but it was just something.
So that's your final rate. That's 3.5.
No.
Oh, okay, all right. So go ahead. All right, okay.
So it was 3.5 at that point because I thought I must miss something. So I watched it again. But I feel that we have. I did thoroughly enjoy it. I've gone 4 on it because I think we have seen better matches. I preferred the Koloffs in the Rock and Roll Express. I preferred the Flair the Flair Garvin match from Saturday night. The one the December 27th, I think it was, or 29th. But don't get me wrong, it was a very good match. At some points it was. I thought it was going to fall into the common criticism that I've seen and heard of Clash 1 is that Flair and Sting had the same 20-minute match or the same 15-minute match 3 times. I thought it might have started to, and that's what wasn't clicking for me because I thought it was starting to fall into that. And there was a couple of times I did think it was going to start, and then they dragged it out. And there was times where Flair obviously bigged up the Windham's speed and athleticism beforehand, and so obviously there was points where you think that Barry Windham's going to kick it up a notch, and then Flair brings him back down, and that all plays into that story. So I can't criticise the match for being slow because that's the story that they're telling. Flair will win on a slow match. He won't be able to keep up with Windham. But I'm doing my score relative to my enjoyment of other matches, and I didn't enjoy it as much as the Rock and Roll Russians tag match. But I'm saying I like it. The difference is minimal. I think I went 4.25 for that one, so this one had to be. If there was a 4 and an 1/8, it would be that. But I would need to put it down as a 4 at this point.
Yeah, I'm okay with 4. I get everything you're saying, but yeah. So it's a lot better than 3.5. On the 3.5, I probably would have had a stroke because then I would accuse you of Battle of the Belts bias.
Well, that's why I had to do it. That's why I had to watch it a second time because it was one of these ones I didn't mind watching it a second time.
Man, that's a 90-minute. That's like a 90-minute investment in just one match. I'm impressed.
Yeah, if you wanted me to watch Wahoo Flair again, I would quit the podcast. But I thought
we might do a live watch of that one day on a holiday episode or something.
Not a chance.
Okay, not a chance. All right, I'll go to Scott. Scott, what did you think of this match?
This match was amazing. I love this match. Barry looked like a damn star coming out of this, and I will like he puts a Boston Crab on Flair that looks better than when Jericho does it for the walls. It was just amazing. I loved how Barry was a bloody mess. Then Flair gets hit, and they're both just bleeding, and I love the missile dropkick from Barry as well. I just thought this match just kept going and going. Every time I thought it was over, it was just boom, we're back. I thought when Barry gets the visual pin, they could have counted to 100 and he would have won. And then both men go over the top rope and they're both fighting each other, not letting the other one in. I went 5 stars.
Wow, 5 stars.
I really enjoyed this. This was a great match. The end does upset me, but it just, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. The last two matches are really, really good, and both of them had a non-finish. So this is definitely a show of non-finishes. So with that, we will go to our end of show awards, and we got between the. So I want you to think about, when you think about these awards, I want you to think about superstars on the Superstation. I want you to think about this show, and we'll kind of pick what's best. So the Magnum Award, which we call the best match. Scott, I'll go to you first. Between the two shows, what was the best match?
I got to go with my 5-star match of Flair versus Barry.
Okay. Calum, best match?
Yep, go with that one.
Yep, 3-way, Flair versus Barry. The Crockett Award, which doesn't necessarily have to be the David Crockett moment, but the best moment between the two shows. And I know that's going to be a hard one to think through, so I'll go to you first, Calum. What do we think the best moment between the two shows was?
For me, I this might be out of left field, but the sort of sequence that ended up having the handspring elbow and the moonsault in the junior heavyweight title match, I thought that just for 1986 it's so out of place. The crowd absolutely loved it. I thoroughly enjoyed it as well. So yeah, I'll just go for that small sequence. It had me out my seat.
All right, Shiflett, best moment.
I mean, Calum's was very good. I'm going with Midnight's winning the tag titles.
Okay. I'm going to go with the end of the Garvin Flair match where David Crockett is stroking out, yelling at him. He had his foot on the rope, and Flair just gets in his face and says, "Shut up!" I thought that was very funny.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that popped me. Jimmy Valiant Award for the worst match. For me, I think it's pretty easy. I'm going to go with Tyree Pride versus Squishy Pants. Scott, how about you?
I agree, Shawn. Come on, Cal. Let's make this a clean sweep.
Oh, it has to be.
All right. The Wahoo Award, the least valuable player of both shows. I will go to you first. Scott, least valuable player.
Ooh, least valuable player. I'm going to go with Baron Von Raschke.
Ooh.
Baron Von Raschke.
AEW superstar.
Why the Baron? Why AEW superstar Baron? Why is he your LVP?
He just comes out, he ruins that match, which it wasn't that great to begin with, but just seeing him and knowing that it should have been Crusher Khrushchev and this is the best they could come up with, it just infuriates me.
All right. Calum, LVP.
I think it's got to be the criminal himself, Ron Slinker.
Damn it. I am also gonna even though Ron Slinker brought a great moment to this show, I'm also gonna go with him as the L. But I go back and forth between him and Tyree Pride. It's really hard. I don't care for either one of them, so I'm just gonna make them both. That whole match is an LVP match, so I'm just gonna go with Tyree Pride and Squishy Pants. Those are my two LVPs. The Ric Flair Award, the MVP. I will go to you first, Colin. Who is the MVP of this show? Mine might surprise, but
that's a tricky one. Going to
of both shows, if we were to pick an MVP out of both shows, who would it be?
I think you can't look further than Ric Flair, if I'm honest, because he had an excellent match he had a 4-star match with Garvin. He had a 4-star match with Windham, which Yeah, I mean that's incredible consistency with two really, really different opponents. Or not really different opponents, but two different opponents. So yeah, I think Flair brought it in the two shows.
All right, Scott, MVP.
I agree. It's Flair. He had, my runner-up would be Dusty, because I really enjoyed that Tully match.
Over Barry Windham.
I mean, God. Well, Dusty for the unintentional comedy of the Willie Nelson interview as well.
Okay.
So that bumps it up.
I'm going to surprise both of you because I feel like I could go between Windham and Flair, but I'm going to go with kind of a surprise. I'm going with Jesse Barr. And the reason why I'm going to go with Jesse Barr is he got a match out of Lex Luger in 1986 that I can even probably go with the White Ninja too, but I really enjoyed that match with Luger. And Luger in 86 is still a rookie. He's very, very green, and the crowd was super hot for Barr. I don't know what kind of shit he was doing in Florida that made the people love him, but it's amazing to me that guy goes on to be Jimmy Jack Funk based on what I saw in that match from him, and he never really got his just So I have to go with him, and I know that's probably a shit take, but I feel like ignoring him and him carrying Luger to a pretty good match is probably wasted, which is a shame because ultimately the real MVP is Ric Flair, but I'm going to choose Jesse Barr to be different. So, all right. Calum, you first. Which of these shows is the better show?
I would say now there was to me I think there was more better matches on Battle of the Belts, but there was also more bad matches on Battle of the Belts. So I think I'm going to need for pure value for your not money that you paid to see this on television. Superstars on the Superstation I think would be the best one for me.
All right, Shiflett.
I'm going the same way. We had a title change. We only had like maybe 2 crap endings, and one of them was the DQ, which the Baron screwed up, and then we had the time limit draw. But then we had like the Midnight Express win the titles, and Flair and Garvin just beating the piss out of each other for almost 20 minutes, and Flair winning, cheating, but we got a W.
Yeah, I think I'm with you guys. I think there's too many non-finishes on the Battle of the Belts. The last 2 matches were really good, but again, both had non-finishes. And I think to Colin's point, the value for free value, it's 100% got to be Superstar and the Superstations. 1, it's an iconic show. 2, there's a lot of fun stuff in there. And 3, the main event and then the tag team title change are big moments in history. And I absolutely think Superstars on the Superstation should be the better show. So with that, guys, that ends our watch of the February Super Show. So just a sneak peek. So we have 2 shows to close out 2021 before we get to 2022. So here's what we're doing. We still have the month of February to finish out because what we did is we have 2 super shows, but there is some stuff that goes out in February I have to talk about. But we are going to save that for our last episode of the year. So that way we can start off March right. In January. So we'll jump into January and we'll start March 86. So our next episode is going to be our Christmas episode. And I have put together a very special surprise watch for our crew here that they are not aware of yet. And it includes a very special surprise for one Calum McDougal. So that'll be our next episode, our Christmas episode. So Calum, I know you're very excited to see what that has.
Oh, I think I know what it might have.
I can't wait.
It might not be about who it has. It might be who it might have. It might be how many of who it has.
Oh, no.
Be gift wrapped and made just for you. And so I will talk more about that on our next episode. That is our Christmas episode. And after that, the one to close out the year, we will look at the rest of February. We'll look at February 15th and February 22nd of 1986 to close out the month of February, to close out our February watch. So, gents, with that, we will close out this episode. We'll go to Scott first. Scott, anything you would like to plug?
Yeah, just check out all the pods here. On the Wrestling Feed, the Pop Experience, Jenny Position, and NoSo. I can be found on Twitter at Scott_Shiflett, And thanks again for listening.
All right. Colin, how about you?
You'll hear my voice on the special relations on the 2-year anniversary special, on the run-up to our Christmas special. One that I won't torture my guests on, however.
By the way, I never said I was torturing you. You're assuming.
Uh-huh.
It is Christmas. Maybe it's the giving, and I have a big heart. You never know.
But it's the season of goodwill. Just remember that.
Maybe 15-year-old Drew McIntyre had a tryout match in the NWA that Shawn might have found. You never know.
Well, I think possibly NWA Hammerlock was going at that point in time, and him and Sheamus and Finn and Bad News Barrett. Although I think you're going to have some bad news for me come the Christmas episode. So you'll find my voice on the special relations. I am on the Pedestal podcast, which Shawn mentioned was debuting on the last episode, and on the video content. PTBN live on Facebook, PTBN YouTube on Twitter, strangely enough, and Place to Be Nation, all one word, on YouTube and Twitch is the place you can go to find us. If you search us, you'll find us on most of the major platforms. So give us a like, follow, subscribe, whatever the terminology is on that. By the time you hear this, I may have already moved house, or just about to move house. And then once that's all done, then I know I've been threatening it for almost a year now. We'll start getting the regular stuff back on there, including the highly regarded by me Twitch live feeds, the live watches. Always a good time. So yes, just search us, find us, and you'll hopefully not be disappointed.
All right, you can find me at NWA Crock and Roll on Twitter and numerous pod feeds. You can find us over on the not the north-south feed, the Place to Be Pop feed, where Shiflet and I are on Pop Goes to the Couch. By the time you hear this episode, we should be straight into Hawkeye at that point, Scott. So that sounds pretty exciting.
Yes.
Scott and I also do Battlestar in the 25th Century, which is an off-the-rails Shiflet sex show that has turned into in terms of some of his commentary. So Shiflet's definitely lost his marbles on that show. But that's always a fun watch. YouTube Roulette, which Shiflet and I are both on. I'm on some of them. I'm not on all of them, but I try to make most of them as much as I possibly can. Highway to the Impact Zone is on a hiatus. Hopefully we will be back. We will be back in the month of January, as our fearless leader Logan is now a proud papa, and hopefully by then he'll be done with the FTK and he can come back to do his podcast. And then I guess what else? Finally, Wrestling's Chicken Salad. You can find me over there with Ben and Logan, as well as we look at the perceived worst pay-per-views of all time. And Calum also brought up our newest podcast endeavor, Pedestal. So a lot of great material here on the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed. We have a good old time with all the good old boys on this podcast, and it's a lot of fun and on this podcast feed. So with that, I am Sean Kidd. He is Scott Shiflet, and he is Colin McDougall. We will see you guys in a couple weeks, where we will have our special Christmas surprise episode. See you then, everybody.